The start of today's review is, to be honest, not really a car for me because it comes with up to 7 seats. But since I don't have a family of my own just yet, my choice of car usually has 5 seats or less. But still, I've been told that my jokes are pretty much that level lame, so perhaps the all-new Kia Sorento here can change my mind. Renew your car insurance online at motortagafu.com by Etika to enjoy 10% rebate, cashback and many more. While its dimensions hasn't actually grown by all that much, the 4th generation Sorento here actually feels a lot bigger, and I think that's mostly down to its new sharper and more upright design language, which Kia calls refined boldness. In essence, it emphasizes on the car's robust and tough looks, while at the same time giving a little bit of sportiness and a little bit of elegance. Marketing speak aside, I really do think that they've knocked it out of the park here. There's a signature tiger nose grille up front, now a lot bigger and bolder than before, and that's complemented by the wide lower air intakes, the horizontal character lines, and the air curtains all the way at the corners to really emphasize on the car's width. I really like how the headlights are integrated into the grille design and is framed by a silver trim up top and the daytime running lights down below that also doubles as the turn indicators. These DRLs, by the way, also have a name. It's called the Tiger Eye line, and if you actually go online and look at photos of tigers online, you realize that the name actually makes more sense than you think. Viewing at it from the side, the Sorento's all-new cab rearward proportions make it look a lot more like a proper SUV. The overhangs are also now shorter, so the car actually feels quite a bit longer, even though in reality, it's only 50mm longer than before. The satin silver trims on the fenders and the C-pillars here really does a good job at visually breaking up the sea of bodywork. The 19-inch wheels on the range-topping variant here fills up the wheel wells nicely, and the black side skirts that raises up towards the rear really just gives the Sorento a very aggressive stance. But if there's one thing to complain about though, I just really wish that the rear doors here also have the keyless entry button. I mean, I know it's nitpicking, but it's a family car after all. Onward to the back, the taillight design here actually gives me a very American feeling. Maybe a little bit like the Ford Mustang, which I guess sort of makes sense because even though it has the Kia logo over there, this car was actually designed primarily for the American market, which I guess also explains its size. By the way, since we're back here, the tailgate here actually has a pretty neat party trick, which is when you walk towards it with the key fob in your pocket, the car actually detects it, and after 5 beeps, the tailgate just automatically opens up without you having to do that silly leg wagging business. Very convenient. The whole refined boldness theme can also be found in the interior, with a dashboard styling that's really a mix of rugged design and classy touches. The standout design element I think are the air vents. The tall vertical shape with a split vent at the bottom here really just gives it a very unique, robust look, and that's contrasted by these fish scale-like elements on the dashboard topper and door cards that really just amp up the premium feel of the cabin. More importantly though, the cabin design here is not all just for show either. After spending some time inside here, it's obvious that Kia has put a lot of thoughts into the usability of the cabin. Everything is just laid out in a logical and convenient manner, and the features that you use the most, like your temperature adjustments and the volume control, all get their own physical switches as well. There's also a lot of storage cubbies all around, and they're all compartmentalized and rubberized, so all your belongings won't just slide around when you're driving. What I like the best though is when you flick on the turn indicators, and check this out, there's actually a camera view from the outside projected right into your instrument cluster to give you that extra peace of mind when you're making a lane change. And that's not all. In addition to that small little light on your wing mirrors, the head-up display here also displays a graphic when there's a car in your blind spot. Honestly, other car makers should just straight up copy these two features because they're really life-changing when you've gotten used to it. With all that being said, there is of course still space for improvements. So Kia, if you are listening, the center console here can really use with some paddings at the side so your knees don't dig into the plastic trims. And it'd also be nice if the lane departure system doesn't automatically re-engage every single time you start the car. This here is the range topper 6-seater, so you get 2 individual chairs here in the second row instead of a bench, and they can be adjusted by sliding back and forth, and you also get some reclinement adjustments as well. At the back here, you also get these individual cup holders and the central air vents as well. But honestly, since the car is so wide, I really don't think you're missing out much even if you opt for the 7-seater variant. Because without much of a central hump, I think you can actually really sit 3 adults here comfortably in the second row, and you still get this convenient one-touch folding button to get into the rear seats. And once you get to the back here, well, the two variants are exactly the same, save for the seat materials. You actually get more USB ports here than the second row, and even manual aircon controls as well. Well, your knee room here obviously depends on how friendly you are with the passenger in front, but because of how low you are sitting to the ground, I really wouldn't recommend any adults to sit here unless it's just for a short journey. Behind me, with the third row seats up, you get 187 litres of space, or just about enough for 2 hand carry luggages. Fold down the seats though, and the flat rear cargo area expands up to 660 litres, and you also get these handy dandy buttons at the side to actually fold down the second row seats for even more space. 2011 litres to be exact, which is probably enough for your IKEA runs. But if you're an adult that has been relegated to the rear seats, these buttons here are actually used to annoy your so-called friends in front because the buttons still work even if there's someone seated there. Oi! Walao! Before I get out of here, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor for today's video, mototagafu.com by Etika. By renewing with them online, you not only get a 10% cash rebate, but also some cashback as well at the end of your coverage. And with everything now online, it really is as easy as just a couple of clicks. Check them out now at mototagafu.com. Sitting in the driver's seat of the all-new Kia Sorento, and it immediately feels exactly like how you expect it to be. It's large, it's substantial, and perhaps even somewhat stately, and it definitely drives the same way too. Part of it is psychology because you're sitting so high up, and the car is actually quite wide, so you just inevitably feel like you're bigger and better than everyone else on the road. But it's also how the car actually feels like to drive, because everything from its steering to suspension to even its powertrain just complements each other to really emphasize on the Sorento's muscular road presence. The steering is somewhat sedate, but on the flip side of that, it means that the car actually feels so secure and confident on the road, almost like it's ready to barrel down anything ahead of it. The suspension setup on here is perhaps not something you normally find on the Luxo Budge because it's actually on the firmer side of things, but while it's firm, it's also not crashy, and its longer suspension travel does mean that the car still has a comfortable edge to it. So while you might be feeling a bit more of the bumps on the roads, especially if you're driving around KL, it's never actually harsh or uncomfortable. A firmer suspension setup also does mean that the Sorento actually handles pretty well too. Of course, don't expect it to be anything like a sports car. I mean, come on, it's a massive SUV that weighs nearly 2 tons, but considering its weight and capabilities, it's actually surprisingly capable around the corners too. It's got some body roll, that is to be expected, but what's impressive is how well it's controlled, and the front end is also surprisingly agile as well. On top of all that, it's also got the all-wheel drive system to give you a ton of grip, even in the wets, and heck, you even have these gear shift pedals to play with as well. Speaking of all-wheel drive, this range-topping variant here also comes with a whole set of off-road specific driving modes, including for sand, mud and snow. But let's be honest, none of you buying this car is ever taking it off-roads. On a car like this though, where you actually want to be at is on the highways, and that is especially true if you've opted for the range-topping variant like this one with a 2.2-litre turbo diesel engine underneath its bonnet. In this configuration, the 4-cylinder turbo diesel mill outputs a healthy 199 horsepower and 440 Nm of torque. But more importantly than just raw numbers, all of that torque is also available from just under 1800 RPM. The way it delivers its power just makes the Sorento feel right at home on the highways, with an almost instant surge of torque that kicks in every time you push down on the accelerator, making it super easy to overtake. And when you pair that to the grandeur driving characteristics of the Sorento, plus its level 2 autonomous driving capabilities, it actually is so easy to rack up the miles on this thing. And for the right people, the Sorento can truly be the ultimate road trip machine. Where this car unfortunately falls short though is when you pull off the highway and head into the city streets. As much as I like the diesel powertrain here, for most people, I think the petrol variants might actually be the better choice, because if you're like me, your daily commute revolves just around the urban areas, and in these conditions, the diesel engine here does actually feel a little bit too rough to live with day in, day out. Not so much on the noise, but actually the little vibrations that come through on the steering wheel and through the seats, especially when the car is stuck in a traffic jam. Making matters worse is the 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission that comes with this diesel variant that's sadly just not built for city driving. Kia says that the gearbox is tuned for smoother shifting and fuel efficiency, and while that might be true on the highways, when you're just driving around on the city street, it tends to feel as if you're not very good at driving a manual car. This is perhaps most apparent when you're moving off from a standstill, where the slower clutch action means that the first gear sometimes takes quite a long time to engage, all while your engine RPM has already built up, making you feel as though you're burning through your clutch. And when you're in traffic jams, when you're just trying to inch forward with your on and off throttle inputs, the car does actually get quite jerky, as if you're not very good at balancing your clutch or something. All these are perhaps things that you might eventually learn to live with, but if you're spending most of your time driving around KL like me, the one thing that makes the Sorento really tough to love is, at least for me, its size. I mean, sure, it can be very satisfying to feel like you're the most powerful person on the roads, but if you're always trying to squeeze past double parked cars, driving such a big car can actually feel very tiring very quickly. So if you're in the market for an SUV like this, I think the first question you should be asking yourself is, do you actually need such a big car? Because no matter how nice it is, which this Sorento actually is, driving such a big car day in, day out can feel like a commitment, at least for me personally. And are you really ready for it? If it's up to me, then the all-new Kia Sorento is just not the car for me, but that's only because I still don't have the use for a car this big just yet. Like I said earlier, I don't have a family of my own, but if you're someone who's in the market for an SUV just like this, then the Kia Sorento certainly has a lot to like, from its impressive powertrain to its handling capabilities and even its myriad of useful features inside. Or maybe what I'm trying to say is that perhaps it's time for me to start my own family. For more information on the all-new Kia Sorento, do log on to AutoBuzz.my. If you enjoyed the video, click on the like button and maybe share it with someone you want to share this car with. Also, subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and that little bell icon ensures that you never miss out on our latest videos. This is Woon, and follow me. Renew your car insurance online at mototagafu.com by Etika to enjoy 10% rebate, cashback and many more.